So you can see over here, our goal here is going to be Juniper versus what? Cisco in terms of command line. That is the game here. Why am I doing this? Because I want you to be able to transfer the skill set you have under Cisco to Juniper. So we are going to do that. So I'm going to configure router for Juniper, then I configure router for Cisco, then we compare to see how the two works, or how the command line looks like, in order to make it easier. So this is going to be like a mixed environment, which means that we have one location to be Juniper router, Juniper switch, and then we have another location to be what? Cisco router and Cisco switch. Then we configure both of them to have fair idea. So I want you to rather pay attention so that you'll be able to understand what we are going to do, and also be able to manage it yourself in terms of the understanding that we are going to have. So let me bring my command line for both devices. So this is Juniper, and then this is Cisco. Now Cisco, I will not say much about Cisco in terms of explanation purpose, because I know you all know. So Cisco, when you log on to the device, you get to what? The privilege mode. And then for Juniper, when you log on for new device, if you unbox a device, you console to it, the same console process, and then you want to have access to the command line, you are going to be asked a login, just like the way we had it in Nessus. So the login, you are going to have the username to be root. So always keep this in mind. For Juniper, that is why I said try and make notes. So on Juniper, you first of all will be prompted with what? A login account. So the first thing is root. If he asks password, just hit enter. Then you get into the shell interface. And over here you type command line. So you want to have access to the command line so that you are going to configure. Now in terms of Cisco, we said that we have, so as I told you, what is the first thing to look out for if you want to configure different vendor device? Who can tell me? First thing, in terms of command line process, what did I say? Know the mode of operation. The mode of operation is very important. Now Cisco, we have user mode, and we have privilege mode, and we have configuration mode. So Cisco have 3 different modes. When you come to Juniper, we have just 2 modes. Okay, so we have the operational mode, which is this mode, which looks like a user mode for Cisco. Then we have the command mode, which you have to go to the command mode to be able to know that. So the command mode for Juniper is either you do edit, and you see that you are entering into what? Configuration mode. For Cisco, we know it already, you do conft. So this is the difference between Juniper and Cisco. And then if you want to exit here and come to the other interface, in Cisco we do exit. The same thing applies to Juniper, you also do exit. Then you are in this mode. Are you all getting what I'm saying? Try and pay attention, don't configure, get the understanding. You have the command line to follow and get the understanding. But make notes so that you can use it for interviews, okay? It's very beneficial. So these are the 2 operational modes. As you are here, you want to go to command mode, you type edit. Or you can type configure. Configure will also take you into configuration mode under Juniper. So in Juniper, we have 2 commands to go into the configuration mode. Cisco is just configurational terminal, which is the conft. So that is one thing you have to know in terms of the mode. The mode is 2 mode for Juniper. Cisco is 3 mode. So get to know the difference between them. Then over here, we can configure the host name. So to bring you to remember, in Cisco, we do host name. And then let's say this is Cisco router, which I'm sure you all know this. So Cisco router. Under Juniper, we use what we call set command. Everything you want to configure, you start with set. So you do set, and as you do the set, then now you can say that you want to set the system. So you are setting the system with a name, and the name you are setting is called host name, and then the host name is going to be Juniper. So what you can even say, so this is going to be Juniper router. What you can also say is Juniper goes with set command, while Cisco doesn't go with set command. Cisco old operating system. So Cisco, we know that what we are doing is iOS. And in the beginning of the class, I told you the operating system for Cisco in the olden days, we call it CAT OS, Catalyst Operating System. Now the CAT OS is like Juniper. Remember, Juniper came from Cisco. So engineers who were working in Cisco then grouped themselves to bring up the command line for Juniper. So they kind of had most of the Cisco old command process. So set command is what we use in Juniper, which is more like CAT OS. And that is the difference between the two. Now, if you want to remove this command, you say no host name, or you retype to change it. But if you want to remove something under Cisco, you just add no to this. So that is for Cisco. If you want to remove something under Juniper, change the the set to delete. So they can ask you this in an interview: what is the no command in Juniper? The no command in Juniper is delete. Okay, so when we say no, which we use to remove configuration in Cisco, in Juniper we say delete. So get to know that. Okay, so I'm bringing it back. And then I'm not going to delete it. Then in terms of the basic configuration for Cisco, for Juniper, is less than what we have under it's different from what we have when it comes to Juniper. So I'm going to go through the Cisco one with you. Then after that, I'll do the Juniper, and then you get to know. So we have no IP domain lookup. I'm sure you remember. Just to disable the DNS service, we do enable secret to add a password. So enable secret to be, let's use here to be MPTC 1234. And then
enable security.
Okay. Enable secret, so MPTC. You see how you are talking with Cisco? That means I'm having Cisco engineers. That is a good thing. And then you do what? You do service password encryption. So we have the global configuration when it comes to that. Now let me show you for Juniper. All you have to do is just the host name, and you set what we call root password. So you can set a root password where if somebody is logging in, it will ask of username and password. You type the username to be root, and you give a password of what you are going to do. So to do that, you say set system root authentication plain text, and then here you add the password you want to use. So if the password, I want to use MPTC 1234, then you retype to confirm whether what you are typing is correct. So this is the way you configure more or less like the enable secret, but then it's going to be the login password for this device when it comes to that. And then you can see that from Cisco, from here we have to do line okay, before I come to the line configuration, you can also choose to create user account. Let's say you have Chestero, you have Godfred, you are not sure of Chestero. So you can give a privileged account for Chestero to either verify alone and not configure. And how do you do that? It means that you have to edit the login system. So you say edit system login which means that the way you log in with root and password, I'm going to create a different account that you are going to use to do that. And that different account, I can say that the account name for this user, and the tab key also work. So let's say user 1 will be my first account that we are going to use. So when somebody is logging in, he can use user 1 and then bring a password instead of using root and a password. Are you all getting to the same stage that I'm doing? Try and pay attention, guys. Then you can say that who is user 1. So you set a full name, and the full name we can say that let me use myself. We will say that this person is Isaac Jan. We trust him, so let's give him certain privilege. So you bring this hyphen because you have what? Space. If there is no space, you don't bring the hyphen. So you have this configured. And now you have to set a class. So we have different set of class. So we say class of, let me bring question mark and you see. So with the class that I want to set, if you use super user, he has permission to do everything. If I'm not sure of you coming new, so we have a privilege level account, you give him permission to only view only. So you can verify with all the verification command, but you cannot configure anything. Okay, so now we can set class of super user because we trust this person to be the level that this person will be. Then now we can set the authentication method for this user. So this user is also going to use a password, let's say MPTC, the same password for just practice sake. Now everything I'm doing here, you can see that I'm still on the root. Over here you see that the name changes to Cisco. One major difference between Cisco and Juniper is that when it comes to Cisco, whatever you are doing here is taking effect. The command will be executed. But for Juniper, unless you configure something we call commit, then the command will take effect. So everything I'm doing is not taking effect. It will not make any changes unless I do what? Commit. So I'm going to finish all the basic and then we commit to it, and then you see that the host name will change. But right now it will not change. And it's not changing because I've not done commit. Now, under Juniper, you see that for Cisco, we have to do line con 0. And then we apply password to be, let's say, let's use a password of the same thing, MPTC123, just for practice sake. And then let's say log sync. So this will be our console password. And let's give 30 minutes for log out if nobody have access to it. And then let's apply the same information on line V2I for remote login. So 04, and I'm sure you all remember this. Okay, so we synchronize the interface, we add the password, and then we do our executive timeout to be the same thing. And now when it comes to Juniper, it's very simple. Now Juniper situation, you just say set system services to be tenant, set system service to SSH, and then the password we've configured is what you are going to use for either you do console or you do remote session. So now if I do let me show you. So if I do system, you see I'm getting error. I'm getting error because if you look at this one, I'm in user mode. I'm not in the right mode to set a system to use other things. So what do? You type the word top. Then so top brings me to the same area. So now it's saying that you already at the top of the configuration. So right now I'm already there. So let me see. You can see that now it's edit. It's not showing like edit system login. Are you all seeing what I'm saying? So if you are in setting mode, you can also not do the global configuration. The set command gives you global configuration. So let's say set system, and then you have this question mark. It gives you whatever you can do over here. But right now we are setting a system for services. What services do we have here? We want to do for only Telnet or SSH. So we will do Telnet, which means that we've configured Telnet. Then we do SSH. So you can see that Juniper is very, very simple when it comes to that. So what have I done so far under Juniper? Just for you to recap what we've done. We have to know how to get to the mode. We have to know how to configure host name. So if they ask you, do you have any experience? You say yes. When it comes to Juniper, I set command. For example, if I want to create a host name, it's just a matter of doing set system host name Juniper wherever. If I want to configure SSH, it's just set system services SSH. You get some few command line that you can remember to use for an interview for the benefit of everybody knowing that you know what you are saying. So now we are good to go with that one. So we know set system services, and then we know this. So what it means is that over here, if you look at this side, all the things we are doing here, all this is just for this purpose. So Juniper is just fewer. If you get to understand Juniper very well, you see that it's well structured, and you will go through it. You will see how it looks like. And then all the things we do here, like service password encryption, it's not needed because the password is already encrypted. And then your executive timeout that we've set here, we are going to set it, but that command cannot be done in command mode. That is the only command you do when you are in the operational mode. So what you do here is you can do commit and quit, which means that one, you are committing the configuration and you are also saving it. So commit and quit is you committing the configuration and saving it. So you can see now that the root has changed to be Juniper router, which happens to be the host name that we did what? We created. And this is the time where you can set a command line timeout. So we say that command line idle timeout. Now idle timeout, as you can see over here, the first number is in minutes. So if I also want to be 30 minutes, I put it here. And now you have idle time set to what? 30 minutes. Okay? And now we are good to go when it comes to this side. Now, Walker, I can see your hand up. Any questions so far?
Yes, Prof. You said the Juniper command line, since Juniper came from Cisco, and the Cisco old one was Cat OS. Does that mean with the Cat OS, it's simple like this Juniper command line?
It kind of looks the same. I've given you some of them in this side. Let me see. So this, and we'll go through it after we are done. So let me show you. This is Cat OS configuration line. So if you want to configure VLAN on a port, you do set VLAN 300, then you bring the port. So they kind of use set command. It's quite different, not really almost the same, but very close. How to disable port is similar to what you have in Juniper as well. And then to say that is set command easier than iOS? Was that your question?
No, because you know how with the global, instead of doing like the Conline 0 or the Conline VTY, we just did set system services telnet, just that simple version.
Yes.
With the Cat, yeah, is it like that also with the Cat?
Okay,
OS?
so Cat OS, it's not the same as Juniper, but what I mean is the command work is close but not same. Let me put it that way. Close but not same to syntax to syntax. So when we talk of syntax, these are the syntax. So they are not exact situation for every thing, but the concepts are very close. Do you get the idea of what I'm saying? But Cat OS is a legacy device. I wonder if you have some in the industry, but there is always surprises of 2 or 1 device. There will be a device where they don't talk about it. Then one day they will say that somebody need a port to change. Then you go and see your surprise. There is a switch which you've never seen before. And that is the reason why I show you how to manage a CAT OS device. And most of the things you'll be doing is just changing the access port. You are not going to replace it. You are not going to do much about that. So I will show you how to manage that situation. By Juniper, you can get a job which is Juniper based. You have to configure and all that. So that is very good to know. Now,
Okay.
as we've saved, we know here we do WR. Now the do command in Juniper is also how do you call it, run. So for example, if I'm in configuration mode like this and I want to verify something, I need to add run. Just as here you can do show run. Do show run gives you the running configuration that you have on your iOS. In terms of Juniper, we do show configuration. So the running is configuration. So show run for Cisco iOS, show configuration for what? Juniper. So these are the things you can give. But look at how Juniper is structured. And this is why I said it's also good if you understand what is going on. Now everything you configure under system will be available here. And then the brackets will be closed. So what did we configure? We configured the host name, we configured the root authentication, but then we also created a login under the system. We edited that. It's also here, he's saying that the person using this account is this. This is his privilege level, and you can see that the password is encrypted. So you don't need service password encryption to encrypt the password. So everything that you are going to do, and services, you see, is also in another bracket on its own. So we say that Juniper is more like a hierarchy design. So every bracket has its own concept in terms of how to do it. So it's more structured when it comes to reading the command line. But this is not what you can copy and paste. Now Cisco, you can copy this and paste and do configuration. When it comes to Juniper, if you want to verify in the hierarchy design, this is the way you go about it. But if you want to do something to configure, you don't do this. What you do is you do show run and you pipe it, then you say display set. Don't forget this. If you get a job and you want to answer them, this is the way we do that. So you use display set to be able to get the configuration. You see, if you look at this one, this is not something you can copy and paste. Have you all seen that? Because this is not what we configured. But when you add the display set command, you can see over here that it comes with a version. Then you see what we type is here. So you can copy this and paste when you are supposed to paste it. So everything we configure here is here. Everything we configure is here. So let me read through what we've done. So we say set system host name to be this. Then we say set system root authentication for root password is also encrypted. Then whilst I was doing this, I did it in a way by not doing direct configuration. So I said edit system login. Now you can combine edit system login to everything you want to configure. Are you all getting the idea of what I'm saying? So if I want to configure the name for the user, I can say edit login user with the username, who that person is. If you don't want to go with specific mode, I like the mode because it gives you an idea of what you are doing. But this is what we use for copy and paste. We did SSH and we did what? Telnet. Okay. So now we all understand this aspect. But in terms of routers, what do? We do basic, we do IP address. So let's learn how to do basic. We are done. Let's learn how to do IP address under Juniper. And this video I'm going to share with you, so you will be fine. It's going to be on the YouTube channel. Try and be following. Most of the things I'm going to be strategic with. Okay. So now let's go through this, and let me go through with the Cisco first, so that you all get the idea and remember that in terms of Cisco, everybody know how to do this. So right now we are going to interface U11. Then U11, we do our description. So we are going to learn how we do this in Juniper as well. And the description, we are going to Juniper router. And then we say that it's connecting on U1. So we have it to be U1 here. And then over here we have to do no shut. So no shut, one thing you have to know about Juniper and routers. For routers for Juniper, the port is enabled by default. For Cisco, you have to do no shut to activate the port. So we do no shut here. And now this is direct interface. So we assign our IP address. And then we are using IP of this. Okay, so I know it to be 50.50. Let me see what we have here in terms of. Okay, 50.50.50. Okay, so we have 50.50.50, and then we have it. So let's use .2 here, and then we have 255.255.255.0. Okay, so now let me bring this one here. We are done in terms of assigning IP address for. Somebody has a question? Sorry. Somebody has a question? Okay. So we are done assigning IP address for what? For the serial interface under Cisco. So now let's go to the Juniper, and then let me show you how to configure that. Okay. So in terms of Juniper, we have the interface. So we are in what? We are in configuration mode already. With this one, as you see over here, to be edit. So we want to edit the interface. So which in Cisco we would have done interface U1. Here you say that you want to edit, and this one I'm going to show you why I'm using this. Why EM? You will see it. But the E there is EM1. If you use 1, it will not work. But you are going to see why the M. So now we are in the interface. So now we are going to set the password. And let me make this bigger because it might look longer so that you can understand well. And now we are in this mode. So whatever we are doing is applying on this. Are you all getting what I'm saying? So right now, what can we do? We can set description, which means that we are describing the interface. You can't just type description as we did under iOS. So you have to say set description, and this is going to Cisco router. And Cisco router, this is connecting to, let's see to be sure. This is connecting to U11. So we have it to be U11. Okay, so this is, okay. So once you have this, you can bring this sign. Go, I have space between it. If I want to avoid the space, then I have to bring hyphen. So you see that syntax error, which Cisco will give you invalid issue. Here it gives you syntax error. It's because of the space that I provided here. So this sign will make it look like it's one item. Okay, are you all getting what I'm saying? So this is the way you do the description. And now we have to set the IP address. So you don't need no shut. You don't need to activate the port. The port is activated by default. So what you do is you say set unit, and then the unit, if you are assigning IP address, on the physical interface, the logical unit number we use is 0. So that is the number that you use. If you are doing a sub interface, you have a VLAN, you want to do a VLAN interface, like the sub interface, that becomes your unit number. So if you have like VLAN 20, VLAN 30, that becomes your unit number. But for this one, the unit number for the normal interface, or what we call the physical interface, is what? 0. Then we have family of if you want to use IP version 4, then this is what you have to use. If you want to use IP version 6, this is what you have to use. But this one, we want to configure it for IP version what? 4. So we want to do that for what? IP address. And then our IP address is going to be 50.50.50.1. And then under the Juniper, you are going to have it like 24. You don't need to type 255.255.255. And then you are done. Do you all get that? So if I bring this one as against Cisco, which is our goal for today, Cisco versus Juniper, and then you can tell me which one you like. But which job will pay you well, just learn it, okay? So don't go and say you take Cisco offer because you like Cisco. No. Find out how much they are willing to pay and then learn it to be paid well. So you can have Juniper jobs which pays well, you can have Cisco jobs which pays well. But just to recap what I've done, you can see over here in Cisco, we know that how to do it. You go to the interface. Here you say edit interface with a specific interface. Now the description, you can just go straight to this. Now Juniper, I said it goes with set command. So you have to type the word set before you do your description. And then you are assigning your IP address. You just do IP address. For Juniper, it goes with set. And every IP system you assign come under a unit. And you are going to see it when we check the interface. And through that, it's always going to be for either IP or for switching. So we have a family for either switching purpose or for routing purpose, which this one we want it for IP address. So we want it for a net, and this is a router. So the port is in a routed mode. So you can only assign IP address. So now we have the IP address, and instead of using slide 255, using 255.255.255, you can just use like 24, which represents what we know under Cisco. So this is one difference between them. Are you all getting that? Yes. Let's go through the sub interface, but let's start with the Cisco first. So you want to, this is the physical port. We describe it. This is going to which one? This is going to switch 1, or let's say Cisco switch. And then with the Cisco switch, is connecting on, let's say, let's see which one is connecting on. So it's connecting on U13. So that is the one we are going to have. So U13 here. So we are good to go on this side. Now we do no shut. And as we know in Cisco, we create a sub interface. We are going to learn how to do this in Juniper. And then the sub interface, let's use a VLAN of 20. And then let's name this VLAN. We are going to name it as data. And now let's encapsulate it. And then tag it with VLAN 20. And from here, we can now assign the IP address. And then we are going to have it to be on this side is, okay, so I didn't give the network. So we can use 192.1.9, let me see what I give. Okay, so here is Juniper is .1.1. Let's use Cisco.2.1. So we are going to have 192.168.2.1, and then we have 255.0. Okay, so I'm going to do the verification with you when I'm done with the configuration, Cisco versus Juniper. But let's see how Juniper you do your sub interface. So the sub interface for Juniper on this side is going to be E2. So based on the lab, we have it to be E2. So it's going to be EM2. And I've told you already, I'm going to show you how the EM2 is. But I'm on this interface. So what do? I have to type top just to be, or you can even do exit. Okay, now I'm there. So you can either do exit to come to this mode, which is the global mode, or you do what? Top to come to here. And now that we are here, we can also edit this interface. So interface EM2, okay, and then you set your description. So description, okay, so let's do shorthand here. Some of them works, but if you are one thing too that makes Juniper also good to not be using the how do you call it, the shorthand is, you know, after you do this, what do you type? What do you type? You have forgotten. You don't remember or what?
The interface. The interface.
No. If you want to do shorthand and you finish typing this, what do you do over there? What do you do over there? Are you with me? Are you with me? Are you with me?
Yes, after description.
No, I was not arrested. I'm right here. Okay, what do you do? You want to do shorthand, what will you do?
You put the router or the switch.
No, you bring space, right? Because you want to only type this. So you bring space to do what you have to do. By Juniper, your space is your tab key. Do you guys get the flow of what I'm saying? So the space is your tab key. So instead of doing shorthand to have...
seeing your screen, oh, please.
Yeah, we can't see the lab.
Okay, 1 minute. Okay, so that was why you were not giving me the right answer. So let me see. Okay, so do you see it now? Do you see it now?
It's blank now.
Yes, and
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So what I was
Yes.
saying is, if you type this, and now you want to use spacebar to go and get the next one, now your shorthand will not work because the space is your tab key. So now I hit space, and then it spell it for you. So is this not cool for Cisco? They said no, don't try any funny shorthand over here. So when you hit space, then it gives you the full thing that you want to do. Then we are going to have this to be Juniper switch. So we have it to be Juniper switch now, and then of course this is connecting to, we have this one connecting to, so I'm going to also give you a, so this is also the way Juniper interface on switch looks like. So we'll go through that one. So now let's come to that, and then we say that it's connecting on XG000 for our trunk port, and it's not working because it's not one word. So now let's bring this to make it one word. And then what it means is that we are in the interface, we've done our description, but now in Cisco we will tag the interface. So in Juniper you say that set VLAN tagging, meaning that you are going to encapsulate it. Okay, so you are going to encapsulate it to what? So you set it to VLAN, and then the VLAN unit that you are going to have. So set unit, which I told you before that without any, if you are not creating any sub interface and you want to deal with a physical interface, then you will not need the tagging, and then you will not need this number. Now this number means that you are tagging the interface with VLAN what, 20, and then the VLAN ID for that is also going to be what, the same number. So this is more like the sub interface. If you want to go to the Cisco iOS, so you do interface u1.20 or whatever, then from here we can now set the IP address. So we say set unit, and we are going to use 20, we are not going to use 0 anymore, and then it's going to be in the family of IP version 4 address, and the address there we are going to have over here is going to be 192.168.1.1/24. Then you are good. So what do we do here? We commit and quit, but there is a command called commit check. You want to be sure that before you commit, check whether everything will work. So is there any error? Am I missing something? So you can do commit check, and it will say that it's checking the configuration and it has succeeded, meaning that you don't have any issues so far. So right now that we are done here, we can just do commit and quit. And now we can do our verification. Now, Cisco show, Juniper show IP interface brief. We do show interface test. This is Juniper show IP interface brief. Write it down. There is a common interview question will be asked. If you say you have Juniper experience, they will ask you, you have Cisco, you have Juniper. Can you tell me Juniper show IP interface brief or Juniper show run? Those are the things you have to be able to answer them. So you do show interface test, and then you are going to get the same thing that you get when you do show IP interface brief in terms of Cisco iOS. Now over here we assign an interface. So as you can see over here, the interface comes with YM. When you use only Y, it will not work. That is the reason why I use the full meaning that we have here. It's not like Cisco where you can choose X instead of the XY and all those stuff. So right now we have the our one interface is up, and you can see that every interface, once you are able to connect a cable to it, it will be up. So administratively it's not disabled, it's up. Then once you connect a cable to it to another device, it will show what up. So now we have cable connected to this, and now we have it this way. So it creates just a unit value for you, which is unit 0. That is what we use. And then we have our sub interface also showing this. So we are good to go. But look at this one. If you want to do show run interface, no, so you do show interface test, and then you want to refer it to, let's say, EM2 alone. It gives you, this is what I like about Cisco in terms of verification. Juniper, in terms of verification, if I want only for EM2, you don't need any piping stuff. You just type what you need, and then you are good to go. If you want for U1 alone, you are good to go. So you see that what you've configured is also there. So the same thing as you have, and these are things you can make note of in terms of what I'm doing to bring yourself to speed with the difference between Cisco and Juniper. And here let's do our show IP interface brief. It gives us this one. If I want to get port specific, we all know that you have to do show IP interface brief, and then you have to pipe it, and then you have to do exclude unassigned. So now tell me, which one do you like, Juniper or Cisco? Or now you understand my flow. By Juniper, all you do is show interface test with the port, and it will show you. And then one good thing too is you can also do show run if you want to see what configuration that you've applied on the interface. For example, show run interface U12.20. If you want to see how your you want to see the tagging, you want to see your IP assignment with the subnet mask, under here you can also do show configuration, and then you pipe it, then you say display set. This is something you can copy and paste anytime you use this, and now match it with EM2 if that is what you are interested in, and then you can see everything we've configured there. So you can see that you can either choose to also configure it this way. Set interface, you bring your description. Set interface, you bring your VLAN tag. Set interface, you bring your unit. Set interface, you apply your IP address. So Everything you are going to do in terms of description, in terms of VLAN tagging, in terms of the unit number, all those stuff, you have to start with set interface. If you didn't do edit interface EM2, are you all getting the flow? So if you look at what I configured it, I said edit interface. That is the reason why you don't add set interface. So I'm already in this mode, so I don't need to configure set interface description. If I'm not in this mode, then I'm going to do set interface with a description and the description of this. Okay, don't now use this Juniper class and say, what did I sign to? I'm not sure this is for me. The Juniper is for everybody. Okay. So let me see a smiling face. There are some faces when I see that I see like it's not encouraging. This is very simple when you practice, but because you are watching, that is the reason why. But you practice, you'll be good. So right now we are done with everything under the Juniper. We are going to do the switch, and I'll give you the first break. So I'm done with the router, I'm done with this side. So I'll give you the first break, and after the break we will come and test it. But in terms of our serial interface, okay, in terms of our serial interface, we can ping the Juniper router, and let's see if this one too will be able to ping 50.50.50.2. We are also pinging this one, and this one will continue going on till you do Control X, then it will end. Okay, or Control C. Okay, Control C, then it end. If not, it will be pinging severally for maybe till Jesus come. So Control C will end it for you. It does continuous ping. When you just do ping, it will give you continuous ping till you end it. So let's go for the first break. So let me console to the switch. So this one is what you console. We don't configure the second one. So we have the switch, then we have this one. Okay, so now this is my Cisco switch. And then this is our Juniper switch. So I'm going to do the basic again so that we can all get the understanding of what we've done before. It's still simple, few stuff to do. Host name, root authentication, password. You can choose to do user authentication. Then you also do the enabling the remote login session. So with new device, we have the root. Then you bring your command line. So this is your configuration. You do edit to come to configuration mode, and I'm sure now we all understand this. If you want to do host name, you say set system host name. So we are going to have this to be Juniper switch. And then once we are done with this one, we can also set the root authentication. So in terms of the authentication, you can do root or you can do specific user. So we say set system root authentication plain text. Then you put in the password. And once you are done with the password, you enable your remote login. So system, set system services. What services do we want? Telnet. And then set system for what? SSH. Very, very simple. Then you are done. This is all you have to do when it comes to the basic configuration. You can choose to set a user account and give him a privilege level as we did on the routers, but basically this is our configuration, and now you can commit and quit to save it. So now we've saved it. We can do our executive timeout from here. So you say set command line idle timeout to be 30 minutes, and now we are good to go. So what we have to do next? What we have to do next in terms of switches. So right now I'm going to focus on the Juniper, then I come to the switch. So in terms of switches, we do what? VLAN basic, VLAN trunk. So basic VLAN SVI. Then we have our trunk and we have our access. These are the requirements we do on switches. So now we've done with the basic. We are going to learn how to configure VLAN on this, and then we are going to learn how to do SVI. We learn how to do trunk. We learn how to do access. So what it means is, if you are dealing with any vendor that you don't know, you have to just learn how to do the basic configuration. After learn how we configure VLAN with Aruba, with Dell, with HP.
Start with the default gateway.
Yes, and the default gateway, right. It's very good. And the default gateway as well. So you learn how to do it on different vendors, the same concept. And that is your transferable knowledge. And all this information are very easy to find on the internet in terms of how to do that. So it shouldn't be an issue to configure that or to deal with that. So now let's go through the VLAN. So how do we configure VLAN? You can say edit to come to configuration mode, and you say edit VLAN, meaning that we are going to create a VLAN. So if we are going to create a VLAN, we set a name. The name we are going to give it is going to be accounts, and then the accounts will be for VLAN ID of 20. You know, very simple, just like the way we do it in Cisco. So all you have to do is to be in this mode, or you can just go with a straight line by saying set VLAN accounts VLAN ID 20, or you be in the mode. I like the mode because it makes it easier for you to see what you are doing. So now we are done with the VLAN. We can commit to this, and that means that the command has what? Taken effect. And now if you even type show, you can see your VLAN configured in this. So you have VLAN and the VLAN ID. So you have the name, the VLAN ID, and all that. And you can also verify by doing, because you are in configuration mode, you do run show VLANs. And that will also give you the VLAN that you've given. So you can do just show under this mode that we are in. It gives you what you have here. Or you can also do to see the VLAN, and I added this because I'm in what? Configuration mode. So now we are good to go with what? In terms of the VLAN. So what do we know in terms of after this? What do we do next after this? We can do our SVI because we have the VLAN created. So we can set up our SVI. Now the SVI for Cisco, we have two methods. For Juniper, we have two methods of that. So let me show you. Okay, I'll talk about this. So we have so I did a trunk and access before the SVI. So the SVI is called routed VLAN interface or integrated routing bridge. Any of them can be configured. We are going to configure. So some of the Junos or Juniper operating system works with RVI. Some works with IRB. For the operating system we are using works with what? IRB. But I'll show you how to configure both for tomorrow exercise. So we are going to configure the integrated routing bridging, and it's very simple. You set this, you use the SVI in terms of the VLAN interface. You are not applying it on a physical interface, and then you enable it on a layer 3 interface. Then you verify you are good to go. So let's configure that one. Then we go from there. So let me bring my Juniper again. So okay, so we have our VLAN. We've done our basic. We have our VLAN configured, and now we are going to do our SVI. So we can go to the top to leave the VLAN mode, okay, and now we say set interface, and then the interface we are going to use, we said we are using what? The integrated routing bridging. So that is the one we are going to create, which is IRB, and then we are applying it on a unit of 20. You understand why I'm using 20 now? And this is a family not for ether switching, but to assign IP address, and we are using version 4. Let me make this bigger so that the whole thing will be there. So init, and then we have address of we are using here to be 192.168.1.2/24. so this is what we configure on this side, and once you configure that, you apply it on more like the SVI in terms of Cisco if you are comparing the configuration. So what VLAN did we create here? We created accounts. So I bring the accounts here, and then if you bring question mark here, you have L3 interface. It means that you are doing layer 3 interface on the VLAN name. So that is what you apply here, and then you create it around the IRB with VLAN 20. So more or less like you are creating a sub interface if you are comparing it to what? To the Cisco aspect of it. So right now if you do show, let me commit first. So commit and even quit. And we do show interface test. And okay, let me show you interface test before we pipe it. So now we have it here, and now if I pipe it and do show interface, so if you are you all getting the flow of what I'm doing? Do you all understand what I'm doing? Very, very simple. Or you sometimes when I watch your face, I feel like, am I doing this all by myself, or I have people who are really following what I'm doing? So in terms of what we've done so far, it's not going to be exact like in Cisco in terms of the basic. In terms of VLAN, you just have to know how to configure it, as I said. So you have set accounts, and this is something you have to practice more to be able to get the concept. So if you look at it right now, we've done the basic configuration, we've done the VLAN, we've done the SVI, which the SVI in terms of Juniper, I told you we have RVI or IRB. So I have how to configure this, and I have to configure this in the guide. Okay, so let me show you how we configure both. Then I'll show you how we configure the default routing under Juniper, and then you get the concept of what I'm doing. So this is what we just did for the IRB, and then this is the verification. You can pipe it with this one specific to see the sub interface, and then if you are doing with RVI, you just set the interface, and then you say set interface VLAN unit family this, and then you are done if it's just the RV. But for this alone, it doesn't work on this operating system. We have to apply the IRB, which is the integrated routing bridging. So now that we are done with that, we now can configure our default. So we go to our default configuration. So let me bring the default configuration. So to do the default configuration, we have to come to command mode, and then we do the same thing. So this one, you say set routing. It's more like configuring default routing. That is the way we do for Juniper. So we say set routing option static route, and with the route we are using default. So you say any network within IP version 4, so /0, and then you choose your next hop, and your next hop is going to be for the one you have for your router. So your next hop is going to be 192.168.1.1. So just spend time to learn how we configure both. So if I'm to go through what I've done so far and what you have to use the training guide to practice, is how we configure basic simple items, how we configure VLAN, the SVI, which in this context is going to be, which one is either going to be, we did IRB, and then you can also have a situation where you are doing RVI. So one of this, then you do your default gateway, and now we are going to learn how to do trunk and access. But before we come here, let me do the Cisco aspect, then we come back to this, okay? So under the Cisco, so that we'll be on the same page. So conft, I do the host name. Host name is going to be Cisco switch. And you enjoy this because you've done it over and over and over. So it's understandable. So VLAN 30, VLAN 20 rather. We use VLAN 20. So let's use same. And then we name this to be data. And then we name it as accounts. Over there, we name it as accounts. So I'll change the description on the other side, on the router. And now we can do our SVI, just different style when it comes to iOS. And that is what I want you to use this week to be practicing. So now we have the IP address to be 192.168.2.2.255.255.255.0. So we are good to go on this side. And now we are going to do the trunk and access. And this is the part where you have to pay attention. Remember, you are going to manage this skill set will support you to manage any environment with mixed environment where they have few Juniper switches. What are the things you are going to do on Juniper switches? The Juniper switch is already running. What will be your day-to-day activities is moving port. So you will be there and you will activate a port for VLAN 100, VLAN 20, and that is why this how we configure access and trunk on Juniper should be very, very important to you with everything we've done so far. So now if I come to the Juniper side, which is this one, and now we are going to learn how to configure what? The access and the trunk. Okay, so let's start with the access first, the trunk first, and then if we bring the topology, our interface for trunk is EX00. So now EX00 is what we go into first. So what we do, we say edit interface. And maybe I'm showing you one method today. Tomorrow, next week, tomorrow for the next class, I'll show you how you can configure this in another method that will make it easier for you to understand. So I'm going to edit interface. We have two interfaces. We have trunk and we have access. But right now, I'm going to focus on the trunk. So I'm being specific with the interface that I want to focus on. And this is 00. So that is the interface we are going to focus on. And then we are going to use the physical interface. But this is where you have to pay attention. So we have a family of Ether switching, which is more like this is the interface you can use for trunking and access. If you want to assign IP, you use Init. If you want to enable switching capability, you use this one. So we want it to be trunking, so we use this one. So we say this. And then we set this interface mode. So we set this interface mode, and here you have trunk or access. So we set it to be trunk. And this one is more like allow VLAN. After you set it to trunk, what VLAN do you want it to be on? Members. Now the members, you can choose all, which means that you are allowing everybody to communicate. So that trunk will work with any VLAN, or you can choose only accounts VLAN to work on it. Are you all getting the flow of what I'm doing? Then you are done. This one, I'm done with trunk configuration. But I'm going to show you one of the issues that we have under Juniper. Now, when I do commit and check, we are going to have error. And let me make it bigger so that you see the error that we see here. So if I do commit and check, I want it to work by saying that the family ITA switching and the rest of the families are mutually exclusive. You can't separate them. So if they are mutually exclusive, you can have both of them running at the same time. So right now, if you do show configuration, and then under this configuration, we want to see what is physically under this interface. So let's say set, and let's match it to the interface that we are talking about. Why is it showing mutually exclusive? That is what I'm trying to show you here. So we match it to the interface that we have issue on, and you can see that we have configured trunk, we have configured access. None of them is showing here. So if you have a situation like this, it means that you have to delete this interface, which is meant for, it's more like Cisco. We have, you remember, and if you have forgotten, when we were doing NESs, I told you we have routed interface. So when you do show interface status, instead of seeing the interface to be VLAN, it shows routed. And who can tell me the command that you change to have it into switch mode? Who can tell me? You have forgotten. So you have to type switch ports. Before I told you, don't forget this.
Is it no negotiate?
Say that one again.
Yeah.
Say that one again. Can you all hear
Never
me?
mind, I got it wrong.
Okay. Remember, I told you that when it comes to 6500, 6800, all the chassis switches, you cannot go and do switch port access VLAN or switch port trunk encapsulation or switch mode trunk. No, you can't do that unless you type switch port before you come and do your trunk or your access. Write this thing on your experience tips. All the core switches, you cannot just configure switch port access. That is the same situation we are having here. So we have to disable this. We have to say no to this so that we can configure our trunk and access. Whilst in Cisco, you type switch port before you'll be able to configure access and trunk. So what I'm going to do here is we are going to be on the top, and whilst we are on the top, we are going to remove this interface from that port that we want to use for what? Trunking. Are you all following what I'm saying? So how do you do it? Instead of set, you say delete. So delete this interface from here. You don't need to copy all. You can just copy from here. So instead of set, I replace it with delete, and then I remove it. Now we have to do the same thing for what we are going to use for the access for 001 and 002, because we are going to have the same issue, mutually exclusive. So we have to also remove that. That is one thing you have to know about Juniper. Some of them you don't need to delete. Some of the models work without deleting. Some of them you have to delete. So it's very key to know this. Then you also come here, you remove this one also, which is going to be used for access, and we remove this one also, which we are going to use for access. And now let me commit this change that we've done. Okay, and now let's call back the configuration that we were doing before, which the first one was to go to this interface, and then whilst we are in this interface, the next one we have to do is to edit it on specific interface. So now we are editing it on this specific interface, and we are changing the mode to be for what? Trunk. So the mode is trunk, and then we are aligning it on only VLAN. So this is more like restriction. Allow VLAN configuration that we have on Cisco. So now we've done for this, and now we can do our commit check again and see whether it will be successful this time. So now you are seeing over here that is showing what? Successful. Are you all getting the flow? Compared to before that you have to delete, and now after deleting it's saying that you can commit to this. So now let's see what you get here. I'm in configuration mode, so I'll do run, then I say show configuration, then I pipe it, I do display, you do set. Now let's match it to the specific port and see what we have here. So when we match it, now you can see that we are having interface mode trunk, and we are having it on the VLAN we wanted to talk to. Do you all get the flow? What is the name? You want to see if the port is trunking. This is the command to use. Show configuration. No, I don't need a configuration. That is why it's giving me what I don't need. So it's just show interface this, and then what we look at is this is up, and then you come to the bottom of it is in trunk mode. This is what you use to determine whether the port is trunking or not. So now we seems to be good with our trunk port configuration. This one also gives you command gives you how your cable is connected. It tells you the speed that we have here. Tomorrow I will show you how to hard code the speed as well, how to disable a port, how to enable a port as well for tomorrow class. So now we are good. Let's now focus on the access. So let me go to top, and then let's say edit interface. And when you are editing interface, you pick the interface that you want to edit on. So you can even call back for this, and now we are editing it for U11, okay, and we want it for what? Access. So you can change this one and make it access. And now what do you configure again? You just bring your VLAN, member of VLAN accounts. Simple exercise. Now this is the first one that we've done. We can do the second one for interface EX2. Okay, so I have to be on the top and pick another, edit another interface, and now I have interface of 2, and now we do our access, and we do this no spanning tree port fast as we have on Cisco, and now we are good to go. So now let's commit and quit, and we will focus on the Cisco, then we do our routing, then we see that we are good to go. Now if you do over here, if you do show VLANs, you see all your access port that you've configured. So it's saying that all these ports now belongs to VLAN 20. And why is the trunk port showing here? Because we restricted the link. We said that only VLAN 20 should belong to that. So we have all this, and every device have a default VLAN of 1. So the default VLAN is here, and normally the VLAN ID for other vendors, they call it tag. So you have 20 and 1 also showing here. So it seems to be good on this side. We can assign our IP address over here, do the testing on the Juniper environment. And then we will go and finish the Cisco, and then we do our routing. So if this is PC1, we can do IP 192.168.1. So 192.168.1.3, because we've assigned .2, 255.255.255.0, 192.168.1.1. Okay, then we come to this, we use .4, .1.4, 255.255.255.0, 192.168.1.1. So we are good to go. So let's ping our local setup. So our local setup, let's ping our gateway first, which is the IP address on the Juniper router. So we have .1.1, and that is pinging. So it seems like everything on our switch and the router is working. Let's ping our managed IP, the SVI. In this case, we call it IRB. So let's ping and see if it's also reachable. So that is also pinging. Then the next one is let's ping the IP address of PC3 to see whether a VLAN that we've assigned on that PC is also pinging. So that is IP.3. So that is .3. And that is also reachable. So what it means is that we have been able to configure all the things we know or we've been doing under Cisco, under Juniper. The router is Juniper, the switch is Juniper, and now we can ping this, we can ping this, we can ping this. So we are going to finish the switch side, and then we will communicate from Juniper to Cisco environment, and that makes it a mixed environment. So this is very simple, guys. You just have to try this week and practice and pay attention to the command line, and then have key ones that you are going to use for interview to make it easier for you. So on the switch side, let's do so now let's go to the switch on the Cisco side, and this one we bring it here. We go to interface E13. Okay, then we have our description. This is going to Juniper Cisco router. Then it's connecting on E12, and then we do our trunk configuration. So switch port trunk encapsulation .1Q, and then switch mode trunk. If it's Juniper, the spacebar will just give you the full configuration. Then interface U12, and even this can be in a range. Tomorrow I'll show you how to do range in Juniper as well. So we have this. So interface range, and then switch port access VLAN 20, switch mode access spanning tree port fast. Okay, and now as we have this done, we can now assign the IP address to this side. So let's console to this and console to this as well. Then all we have to do is learn how to configure default route, and that is the same way like we did on the switch. And now we will do our testing and we will be good to go. So now this IP address is going to be 192.168.2. Let's use .3 here, 255.255.255.0, 192.168.2.1, and then we have the last one, which is also going to be 192.168.2.4, 255.255.255.0, 192.168.2.1, and now we can do our ping test for the local setup. So let's see 192.168.2.1, and then let's ping the .3, which is PC4. Which is PC4. Okay, So basically, we are also good when it comes to this side. So now we are going to configure the routing. How do we do the routing on Juniper, and how do we do the routing on Cisco? And then we do a ping test to see that the two devices can communicate to each other. So routing on Juniper, the concept is the same. So it doesn't mean that if you know Cisco and you don't know Juniper is an issue. No, it's just the way to configure, but the concepts are going to be what? The same. So this is my Juniper switch. No, we don't want the Juniper switch. So let me see. This is my Juniper Cisco switch as well. Oh, where is the Juniper? Did I close it? Okay, right here. Okay, so command line. So this is the router, and then let's bring the Cisco as well so that we see the difference. So I'm going to do the Cisco first using the Nest Hub as well, and after we are done we do the Juniper. So under the Cisco, we know that is IP route. We do the default of 0.0, 0.0, and then our Nest Hub is going to be what? 50.50.50.1, which is the IP address on the Juniper. So we are done here. We come here as well, and over here too we do the same thing. But we have to be in configuration mode, and the difference here is you have to start with what? Set. Okay, and the set, instead of saying IP route, you say routing option. Tomorrow we will do OSPF as well. Remember, Juniper, we don't do ERGRP, we do OSPF. So the options we have a static route. So the static route, where do you want to go? So you see the concept is not changing. We can also do default if you want by doing 00, which is the one that we did for how do you call it, the switch, when we were configuring the switch. So instead of doing specific network, you can just do default route, and then you bring your Nest Hub, and the Nest Hub is going to be let me make it bigger so that you see it well. So Nest Hub is going to be 50.50.50. How do you call it? .2. Okay. Now, if you are not using default and you want to use static, you just use the network you want to communicate with over here. So what we've done, if we don't want this and we want to change it, this is the default configuration. If you want to change it, just go back here and remove the sets and do delete. This is default routing, so we don't want it. We are removing it. So I'm showing you how to remove it too. On Cisco side, what do we do? Cisco side, you just go there and say no on Cisco side. So this is no. And then when you want to do static itself, then now you are going to change the 00, and then you are going to bring the network that you want to communicate with, which is 192.168.1.0. Then the subnet mask 255.255.255, and I'm sure you all remember this. So this makes it static, not default routing. The same way you do it here too. So here I'm going to remove the delete that I put here because we want to make it static, and show you how you are going to configure with the static. And then your configuration now is going to be 192.168.2. On the other side is what? Is it .2? Just to be sure. Yes, .2. So .2.0/24. Then you keep the same Nest Hub. So we are missing something. So let me go through and see what I'm missing. So set is what we need to bring. So you can't just say routing option. So now set, then you are done. Now let's commit and quit here. And here we know that we do WR. So this is Cisco versus Juniper. So Cisco, you say do show IP routes, and then you see where you want to go. This is Juniper network. It's showing you this is your static network. Under here, what do you do? Over here, you also do show route. You remove the IP, so you do show route. And then you can see that this is also giving you a nice view. So it's also saying that this is local and this is a static route on a different location. But Juniper, Cisco also gives you this. So this show you the local. Juniper show Cisco give you a letter to show that it's local network L. For Juniper is telling you it's local. So now we have communication across. So let's test our whole exercise, and then if you understand it, you can now say that you are a Juniper engineer. So 192.168.2.3 to see our moment of truth. So now we are on .1 network, and we can go to .2, which is the Cisco environment, and then we also ping what? .4. And then we can go there. This is all you need to know when it comes to Cisco and Juniper in terms of verification, in terms of configuration.